What is up, everybody? Happy draft day. And it's been a long time coming, by which I've been waiting to say those three words to you guys, because today it truly is one of, if not the most exciting days in the NFL season for every fan base, right? Obviously, individual games have their levels of importance, but today is the perfect day for your bad team to potentially become good, for your good team to potentially become great, and for your great team to hopefully do just enough to push themselves over the top and line themselves up to put a ring on their finger next February, right? That's today. That's this weekend. Not to sell those second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rounders short, but that's what today signifies, right? And maybe everybody won't be as excited and as hopeful as they are this instant at, say, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., when their team is on the clock and their team takes some guy that I have a third round grade on in the first round. Maybe they won't be excited, but right now, great day. Absolutely great day. So, in that regard, I wanted to kick off that great day with hopefully a great video and bring you guys my big board, my rank order of prospects that I've graded for this draft class. Now, you'll see some notable names are missing. As we start running through them, you will get a sense for that as we go. But how my process went this year, because I'm doing things a little bit differently than I did last year. Last year, I would post individual videos, and then at the end of each video, kind of as the process went along, I was updating you guys on my big board after each guy. This year, I kind of am doing things in the opposite order, where I've graded now 75 guys, and I have their grades. You're seeing them now. Hopefully you are. Maybe you're a fan of some of these guys, maybe you aren't. But this is the order by which I have them ranked, and it's less so about the actual grade that I have on the screen there than it is the number, because what you're going to see as we continue on here is I'm not as high on this draft class perhaps as a lot of other people are. I didn't have very many quote-unquote first-round grades. Now, obviously, 32 guys are going in the first round, so even though it might not be a first-round grade, if you're my, say, 21st highest-graded player, obviously, I would feel comfortable taking you in the first round. But the rank order is really what matters here. And in that regard, you're probably seeing some guys, as we're just flashing through, that seem maybe way too high, way too low, and understandably so, right? So how that's going to work is we're just flashing through all of these players. Trey McBride. We're going to Daniel Faalele, etc., etc. You're probably seeing a lot of familiar faces. You're probably saying, why the heck does he have Jermaine Johnson in the middle of the second round, quote unquote? But we'll cross that road when we get there. And what I mean by that is my plan ultimately is that I wanted to bring you guys my order first, my overall big board first, the 75 guys that I was able to complete a full evaluation of first, and then afterwards I'm going to kind of flood you with the individual videos, the a little bit more in-depth videos, maybe not as in-depth as, say, last year's videos in terms of breaking down each individual category of my grade sheet, but this year I want to give you some reasoning and, you know, maybe go through some of my notes, talk about the positives and negatives of each guy, and some of the categories that I graded them a little bit higher in. So those videos are going to start flooding your sub boxes probably relatively soon, right? I'm going to do a lot of the first round prospects, supposed first round prospects tonight, and then we'll follow that up with some more tomorrow. So turn your post notifications off if you've got them on, unless you want Mic'd Up Football to be blowing up your phone up until the draft tonight. But overall, I would say this class, like I said, just not quite as high on it as most, and maybe it's just because of the players that I chose to do. So of that 75 player pool, how I like to start my process is by going deep on as many positions as I can. So for me, that meant first off 15 running backs. Next up, 15 linebackers. Next up, 15 offensive linemen, right? I think you guys kind of get the deal. And then the closer that we got to the draft, the less deep that I was able to go on some of these positions. So as you guys probably saw, in particular the skill positions. Quarterback, I only scratched the surface, right? I didn't really get to a lot of the other guys. I tried to get to Malik and Kenny Pickett because I've heard the most about them in the lead up. Unfortunately, didn't get to finalized grades for guys like Matt Corral, guys like Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, guys of that nature. Edge rushers, wide receivers, corners. Those positions I went a little bit lighter on, and essentially what I did were the most quote-unquote popular guys, right? The guys that were getting the most discourse and discussion about them. I wanted to provide my own evaluation, but maybe I didn't go 15 deep on edge rushers like I perhaps would have liked. I know this has been an interesting draft process. This has been the first draft where I've had like a full-time job essentially, and then wanted to do this as I mean, this is essentially another full-time job on top of it, as you guys can see, in terms of watching hundreds of snaps on each of these guys. So it was a long process, but it was obviously a fun process, as always, and I'm excited to finally share some of my grades with you guys. So what we're going to do now is, since I know that sort of flashed by very quickly, is we're going to a little bit maybe more slowly just go through the draft board so that way you can see players in relation to each other. In terms of the big picture, as you guys are seeing here, of those guys that I watched, I had 16 first round grades only, which was a little bit lighter than I might have suspected. I know it's a very interesting and polarizing draft where you have a lot of guys that are older because of the extra COVID year. So you have guys that are maybe 23, even 24 years old, versus some guys that are just flat out 2021. So that was an interesting thing to grade and to consider in terms of maybe the potential of guys. I don't really grade on potential, but it's something that I think has to be in the discussion, because if you're one of these older guys, maybe you're just further along in your development. As we continue to go on here, you're going to see a couple guys I was a little bit lower on, and by a little bit I mean quite a bit lower on than the consensus in terms of, say, those high potential guys, which at least from my estimation would be like a Chris Olave, Malik Willis. As we keep going down here, you're going to see Kenneth Walker, for example, was one of those guys. I'm sure a lot of people are going to not like that grade. I did want to note, as you guys can see on the right, those little red flags. What those mean are essentially my grade was finalized, my film grade, but there is some stuff extraneous to the film that if I was making these selections that I would want to know and have to know before making that selection. That this is sort of my level of confidence in these players based off their film. But if there are, say, injuries, obviously like with Jameson Williams, by example, he's up there at the top, but with his ACL injury, that's a red flag to me, right? Because maybe what I saw in film is different than actually where he's at currently as a player, and there's just some other stuff surrounding his game that is a question mark right now, right? How will he recover from the ACL? Nobody knows. I'm not a doctor. I don't have the medicals, those sort of things. I just flag those evaluations. I don't want to go one way or another because maybe maybe his recovery is going along greatly. Maybe it's not, right? Some other guys with maybe character concerns. Obviously, what do I know? I've never spoke to, I've never spoke to these guys. I don't get the behind-the-scenes interviews that they do at the combine and in their pre-draft visits, right? So if there's character concerns, if there's anything that I perceived as a big enough question that I couldn't answer that would likely impact my confidence level, I put the flag. So maybe for some guys, it's just going to a small school. For Dameon Pierce, for example, it was interesting. The Florida running back. He was a starting running back last year in 2020, and then this past season all of a sudden became the backup by name. It still got the same amount of work, but all of a sudden he's the backup now. It's like, well, how do you go from being starter as a junior to backup as a senior despite all the other guys on your team leaving? Kind of weird, right? You would expect him to really be the workhorse of the team, and all of a sudden he's quote-unquote the backup. Interesting stuff. I flagged those guys, so that's what all those little red flags on the screen meant. Other than that, that's really all I have for you guys in this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got a sense for where I'm at on maybe some of your favorite prospects. And if you're curious about why I graded guys where I graded them, I would say be on the lookout for some of their individual videos here in the subsequent few hours, subsequent couple days. I'm going to try and pump these out literally as quickly as possible. Like I said, I'm going to drop, I already have 26 of them pre-recorded ready for tonight, and then we'll keep going and see how many of those I can get out. But I wanted the grades to be out before the draft at least. So with that being said, Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, if you maybe agreed with my big board. Even if you didn't agree, I'd appreciate the support regardless. And if you didn't agree with some of my guys, I would say tell me why in the comment section down below. But I would suggest to wait for the individual videos, right? Because maybe there's just a certain angle or a certain trait of these players that when I say second round, or when I have them graded in the third and you thought they were a second round guy, etc., etc., maybe there's just some angles that I wasn't, or that you weren't considering, that I maybe was looking a little bit harder at, or some things on my grading scale that differed from the way you look at prospects, right? Which is totally understandable. I know my grading scale, for those who are familiar, exact same as what I used last year. I know I'm not going to be flashing it up on the screen during every video like I was last year, but I'll be walking through it similar to how I was. I know this was a little bit, like I said, a little bit tougher of a year in terms of the videos and just finding the time to produce all those. And honestly, the videos come second to me. I don't grade to make videos. I grade to become a better evaluator, and then I make videos to share those observations, right? So apologies if you've been sitting on pins and needles waiting for draft content up until today and you've been disappointed, but hopefully this fills that void that maybe people have had here on the channel. So with that being said, that's all I have for you guys in this one. Turn your notification bells off, please. I already know I'm gonna lose maybe 10, 20 subscribers tonight. I totally understand. People do not like getting their sub boxes flooded, but to me, this is the one day a year that it's warranted, when it's draft day, baby. It's draft day. So with that being said, all I have for you guys in this one, be on the lookout for specific player and individual player videos later tonight, through the night, into the weekend, into tomorrow, and maybe for some of these later round guys into early next week. I'm going to try and wrap them up as quickly as possible, though. But that's all I have for you guys. So one thing I will say, I'm not opposed to uploading these videos in a bit of a different order, right? So just because I have Zonovan Knight as my second to last player on my big board, if you want my Zonovan Knight video early, so let me know down below. If there's certain players in here that you're like, oh my god, how does he have Darian Beavers so low? I need to hear that. You could tell me down below and I'll try and push that one to the top of the list, but these are all the guys I have graded. These are all the guys I have videos in production for, and videos that I have queued up to go up very, very shortly. I'm sure many of them are already up by the time you are seeing this. So now, I didn't expect to go 10 minutes in this one, but I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you guys for hanging in here on this one with me, and I will, I would say talk to you guys in future videos, but I've been talking to you guys for like the last 5 days making these videos, so the order is a little bit messed up, but it is what it is. That being said, that's all I have for you in this one. I'm mic'd up, now I'm mic'd out. Peace, guys. I'll see you hopefully in those individual videos. Peace, guys.